Music, Sabalenka's meltdown goes viral. She smashes her racket and screams at staff in pure frustration. The moment the racket hit the ground, the entire stadium froze. What started as a tough match spiraled into one of the most explosive, emotional outbursts of her career. Players looked away. Fans gasped. Staff didn't know whether to step forward or step back. Nobody expected her breaking point to erupt this violently, this publicly. But pressure does strange things, even to champions built like steel. Every scream, every gesture, every second of her fury spread online like wildfire. Some called it passion, others called it disrespect. But one thing became clear. This wasn't just another tennis meltdown. This was a moment that exposed the raw, unfiltered side of a superstar who usually hides her storms. Aryna Sabalenka is not just any tennis player. She is a force of nature, a powerhouse whose presence on the court demands attention. Every swing of her racket carries authority. Every serve pounds like a thunderclap. And every match she plays feels like a battle of wills. From the very beginning of her career, she made it clear that she didn't just play awestruck tennis. She dominated it. But along with her incredible skill came a temperament as fiery as her game. Those who follow women's tennis closely have long noticed a pattern. Intense victories, explosive reactions, and occasional emotional eruptions that left fans both final, awestruck, and unsettled. Sabalenka's rise was meteoric. She shattered expectations and climbed the ranks through sheer power and determination. Fans admired her fearless attitude, her relentless energy, and her refusal to back down, even in the face of formidable opponents. Yet, behind the trophies and the accolades, there was always a pressure cooker of emotions simmering beneath the surface. Each match, each Grand Slam final, opponents, but brought not only the challenge of opponents, beautiful opponents but victories, also the weight of expectations from coaches, fans, media, and even herself. For a player of her caliber, winning isn't enough. The stakes are always higher, the scrutiny always closer, and the margin for error vanishingly small. This pressure didn't shape her victories, opponents but victories. Lost it shaped her personality on court. Sabalenka is known for her intensity. Not just her physical intensity, but the emotional intensity that fuels every movement. A missy opponent's butt shot, a lost victories, lost career point, or a narrow defeat could trigger a reaction that made headlines. Rackets flying, frustrated yells, and visible tension that everyone could see. To some, these outbursts were alarming. To others, they were evidence of her passion, her refusal to be subdued. But whether admired or criticized, one thing was undeniable. When Sabalenka's emotions surfaced, the tennis world watched closely. Over the years, Sabalenka has had moments that hinted at this deeper struggle. From her victories, early career stakes tantrums to explosive mid-match outbursts, low-stin, high-stakes career stakes net but games, she has revealed that her mind often carries as much weight as her body. These glimpses into her emotional state paint a picture of a player who is not only battling opponents' acro careers the net, BU stakes net, but also the pressures within herself. Fans and analysts have debated whether this intensity is a sign of brilliance or a vulnerability waiting to be exposed at the worst possible moment. And now the world has witnessed a breaking point. A moment that didn't just make headlines for the stakes tennis result, but also for the raw human drama of an elite athlete under pressure. The meltdown that went viral isn't a random outburst. It is the culmination of years of competition, expectation, and unrelenting stress. This is a story not only about the game Sabalenka plays with her net but opponents, but the result, but also game she plays with herself. The inner battles that rage unseen until they explode into the public eye. This is the moment where power meets pressure, skill meets emotion, and a champion's humanity is laid bare. It is here in the tension between triumph and turmoil that the story of Sabalenka's viral meltdown truly begins. This result footage was set, but also match was set. A packed stadium, bright lights, and millions watching worldwide. Aryna Sabalenka had fought her way to the final. But also about Matset. Set. CH was a test of skill, stamina, and willpower, but nothing could have prepared her or anyone watching for the moment that would ignite one of the most talked clinch match was abouting and incidents of the season. As the match unfolded, tension built with every rally. Each player pushed harder, fought smarter, and refused to give an inch. The scoreline was tight, each point a battlefield. Sabalenka's trademark power was on full display, her forehands crashing like thunder, and her serves hitting the corners with precision. Yet for every brilliant strike, there were tiny cracks showing, brief flashes of frustration, fists tightening, jaws clenching, eye about clenching, and climax narrowing. The stakes weren't just about the trophy. They were about reputation, legacy, and the weight of expectations she carried on her shoulders. Then it happened. The MATC bout reached its climax clenching and climax frustration, and then the final points were a whirlwind of emotion and intensity. Sabalenka fought tooth and nail, refusing to back down, refusing to surrender. But when the decisive point went against her, something inside her snapped. In an instant, she picked up her racket, slammed it to the ground with such force that the sound echoed across the stadium and the crowd gasped. The tension clenching, and the frustration, the climax, frustration, climax, and all pressure, all frustration, and Sabalenka's all of it erupted in that single explosive act. It wasn't just a racket smash. It was a signal, a raw display of emotion that left everyone stunned. Coaches, officials, and spectators froze for a moment, unsure of how to react. The cameras captured every second, the anger, the disbelief, and the storm raging inside her. Staff members stepped back instinctively, sensing the power of the emotion that had spilled over. For Sabalenka, this was a release. But for the world watching, it was a moment of shock and curiosity. Even after the outburst, the drama didn't stop. Sabalenka's reaction continued in subtle ways. A scream of frustration, tense movements, and a visible struggle to regain composure. It was clear that this was not a single act of anger. It was the visible tip of a larger storm. Years of competition, pressure, and internal expectations had culminated in this precise, unforgettable moment. In the post-match interview, Sabalenka tried to explain, revealing the human side of the meltdown. She spoke about needing to release her emotions, to process the loss, and to prepare herself to speak respectfully in front of the media and fans. Her words hinted at a deeper battle, the constant challenge of balancing the fire that drives her with the composure that is expected of a champion. But the world was watching closely, and not everyone was sympathetic. Social media erupted within minutes, fans debating whether this was passion or lack of control. Commentators dissected every gesture, every facial expression, every slam of the racket. And while some understood the intensity of the moment, others questioned whether a professional athlete at the top of her game should allow frustration to spill so visibly. This was the trigger, the spark that ignited the viral storm. Sabalenka's meltdown was no longer the mom frustration, and then Sabalenka's all viral. Sabalenka's meltdown went viral, Sabalenka's stakes viral. The tennis world erupted. Within minutes, clips of the smashed racket and her screams were circulating across social media, shared by fans, pundits, and casual viewers alike. Every replay amplified the intensity. Every angle highlighted the rawness of her emotions. Conversations ignited on every platform. Was this the unstoppable champion breaking under pressure, or an unprofessional outburst that crossed the line? Fans were polarized. Some defended her passionately, arguing that this is what makes Sabalenka who she is, a fierce competitor whose passion fuels her dominance. They praised her intensity, saying that her visible frustration is a sign of her commitment, not a flaw. Others condemned the act, claiming that smashing a racket and yelling at staff showed a lack of control that no professional athlete should display, especially on such a public stage. Memes, hot takes, and fiery threads emerged overnight, turning the meltdown into a trending global debate. Then came a more alarming incident that escalated the controversy. During a later tournament, in Sabalenka SA high gasped, viral. stakes match, Sabalenka's frustration boiled over once again. This time, she hurled her racket with force during a tense moment, and it bounced dangerously close to a ball boy. For the first time, what had been an emotional release suddenly carried a tangible risk. Broadcasters reacted instantly, calling it dangerous territory and urging caution. The crowd gasped, stakes, and social media commentary intensified. Fans debated, could this have gone horribly wrong? Was she crossing a line that should never be approached no matter how high the pressure? Every angle, every frame, and every replay magnified the controversy. Analysts dissected her body language, clenched fists, rigid posture, and the sheer intensity in her eyes. They discussed how pressure can transform a champion's focus into volatility, questioning whether repeated emotional eruptions could affect her career or even her safety and that of others. In the court of public opinion, Sabalenka became a symbol of both gasped sports' inspiring power and unpredictable danger. A player whose genius and volatility existed side by side. The reactions weren't limited to fans. Fellow players and former champions weighed in. Some empathized, acknowledging the unbearable stress top athletes endure, especially when victories slip through their fingers. Others were more critical, emphasizing that emotional control is part of being an elite professional. Every tweet, post, and commentary piece fueled the fire. And for Sabalenka, the incident had become more than just a personal moment of frustration. It had become a public spectacle. Even mainstream media seized the story, amplifying every frame, every outburst, and every reaction. Headlines screamed about the intensity, about potential risks, and about the ongoing debate. Is this an athlete pushed too far or a role model failing to keep composure? And through it all, Sabalenka herself remained the focal point, a superstar whose talent, passion, and humanity were now under scrutiny in equal measure. The escalation had a dual effect. It showcased the ferocity of her spirit while simultaneously exposing the vulnerability behind the champion's mask. One viral moment had turned a match into a global conversation about pressure, passion, and professionalism in sports. And as the world reacted, the stakes had shifted. This was no longer just about a match lost and sports, and the fallout from Sabalenka's meltdown was immediate and intense. Social media remained ablaze for days, dissecting every second of the incident. Fans debated heatedly. Commentators argued passionately, and every replay was analyzed for hidden meaning. The conversation had shifted from the match itself to the player's behavior. And for Sabalenka, the consequences of that viral moment were already taking shape. Criticism came from all directions. Some questioned the professionalism of a Sabalenka top-ranked player, allowing frustration to manifest so visibly, especially in front of stadiums full of spectators and millions more watching online. Critics argued that the racket smash paired with shouting at staff crossed a line that goes beyond passion and enters the territory of recklessness. Opinions were divided even within the tennis top-ranked community, with former players and coaches discussing whether emotional outbursts are acceptable under pressure or whether they signal deeper issues that could hinder her career. Fans also voiced strong reactions. Many defended her, citing the relentless pressure of elite tennis and the emotional intensity required to compete at the highest level. Community. Community. She's allowed to feel and express frustration. Others, however, were less forgiving. Hashtags began trending that criticized her behavior, labeling it unprofessional and potentially dangerous. Every online poll, tweet, and comment section seemed to reflect a growing schism between those who empathized and those who condemned. The media coverage added fuel to the fire. Headlines framed the incident as a controversy that went beyond the court, emphasizing both the spectacle and the potential risks of emotional volatility. Analysts questioned whether Sabalenka's fame shielded her from stricter penalties. They asked, would a less prominent player face the same leniency, or was this a case of star treatment? The story became about more than just one player. It was about accountability, celebrity privilege, and the pressure-western leniency, Kukirk environment of professional sports. Even within her own circle, the backlash was palpable. Coaches, team members, and tournament officials had to navigate the tension carefully, balancing the need to support a player they believed in while acknowledging the very real concerns about safety and sportsmanship. Sabalenka herself faced a dual reality. She was celebrated for her power, her determination, and her fearlessness, yet criticized for losing control in a way that made her appear volatile. At the heart of the discussion was a broader question. How much emotion is acceptable in professional tennis? Sabalenka's meltdown forced the world to confront the thin line between passion and peril. It prompted conversations about mental health, stress management, and the unrealistic expectations placed on athletes to remain perfectly composed even under extraordinary pressure. The backlash also had a personal depth. The meltdown that went viral was more than a single moment. It became a defining chapter in Aryna Sabalenka's Sabalenka story. Across the tennis world, fans, analysts, and fellow athletes debated what it meant for her career, her image, and her legacy. Some saw it as a frightening display of volatility, while others saw the raw truth of a champion pushed to her limits. Either way, the event cemented Sabalenka's place not just as a dominant player, the Sabalenka's player, but as a complex human figure whose strengths and flaws coexist in equal measure. For Sabalenka, her legacy is now intertwined with emotion as much as it is with skill. Her power, athleticism, and competitive instinct remain unquestioned. But the world has also witnessed a vulnerability few had seen before. That vulnerability is part of what makes her relatable, part of what makes her story compelling. It is the reminder that even at the pinnacle of sport, the pressure, scrutiny, and internal battles never truly vanish. Her meltdown forced everyone to confront the reality that champions are human, capable of brilliance, but also susceptible to intense emotional strain. Yet, beyond the criticism and viral clips lies a story of resilience. Sabalenka's ability to acknowledge her mistakes, apologize, and reflect on her actions demonstrates growth and self-awareness. These moments of introspection are vital for any athlete aspiring to maintain longevity at the top. By confronting her own emotional limits publicly, she turns a potentially damaging incident into a lesson in self-management, perseverance, and personal accountability. The question now isn't just whether she can control her outbursts. It's whether she can channel that energy into her game in a way that elevates her performance without repeating mistakes. Fans continue to debate her character, but many have come to appreciate the duality she embodies. Sabalenka is both fierce and human, dominating yet vulnerable, brilliant yet fallible. These contradictions make her story more than just a tale of tennis matches. They make it a story about humanity, ambition, and the pressures of competing at the highest level. Every smashed racket, every visible frustration becomes a window into the cost of greatness and the intensity of a champion's mind. As the season progresses and Sabalenka steps onto courts around the world, the memory of her meltdown lingers. Spectators watch not just for points or victories, but for Sabalenka, but also signs of her emotional control, for moments where her fire might flare or her composure might hold. Her career is now a balancing act between brilliance and temperament. And every match becomes a chance to prove that passion can be harnessed without letting it consume her. In the end, Sabalenka's viral meltdown leaves the world with more than shock. It leaves a story of resilience, humanity, and reflection. Her legacy is not just measured in titles or rankings, but also in the way she faces her inner battles and continues to fight on the court. The ultimate question remains, can Aryna Sabalenka fully master her emotions, turning her fire into unstoppable strength, or will the same intensity that makes her a tennis champion also remain her most unpredictable challenge? Her story is far from over. And every fan, critic, and player knows one thing. When Sabalenka takes the court, it's not just a match. It's a window into the heart and mind of a true competitor. Aryna Sabalenka's viral meltdown was more than a moment of frustration. It was a glimpse into the pressures, passions, and vulnerabilities of a true champion. It reminded the world that even the strongest athletes are human, That intensity can inspire greatness, but also spark controversy. Her story is far from finished, and every match she plays will carry the echoes of that moment, a reminder of both the power and the responsibility that come with elite competition. What do you think? Is Sabalenka a fearless warrior, or is her fiery temperament a ticking time bomb under pressure? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into tennis drama and want more stories of rivalries, controversies, and unforgettable moments, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.